Meghan.
I love what you're wearing, Erica.
And your whole look is so cute.
Thanks.
Park County Police Station, what's your emergency?
Yeah, the neighbors across the street are setting off fireworks, and it's 10:30 at night.
Oh, is it the Prince of Canada and his wife who just want to be left alone?
Hi.
I heard you weren't getting along with Dorit. I feel terrible.
What? Where did you hear that?
Damn it, now the prince is playing polo on the lawn.
We are here because privacy is a basic human right.
Grandmother, we've returned.
Well, we're kind of packed. You snooze, you lose.
How many more princes and his wives have to live in this nightmare?
They did it. The South Park writers actually did it. Just when you thought they might let the whole thing slide. Just when Meghan and Harry were starting to quietly rebuild their brand. Just when the memes were finally beginning to die down. Trey Parker and Matt Stone pulled the pin on another cultural grenade. And make no mistake, this wasn't a casual callback or a lazy punchline tacked on to appease fans. No, this was calculated, confirmed, and allegedly twice as vicious as before, because according to multiple insider leaks, the team behind South Park has officially doubled down, not just with a teaser, not just with a silhouette, but with a full episode centered around two painfully familiar cartoon royals, and this time the gloves are off.
We just want to be normal people. All this attention is so hard. Isn't it true, sir, that your questionable wife has her own TV show and hangs out with celebrities and does fashion magazines?
Sources inside the animation pipeline claim this isn't just a continuation of the worldwide privacy tour. It's a direct escalation, a sequel that doesn't just recycle old gags, it eviscerates everything Meghan and Harry have tried to rebuild since the first roast aired. Their branding, their lifestyle pivot, their so-called silence, all of it, on the chopping block, and the writers allegedly didn't tiptoe into it. They stomped in, laughing. It started with whispers, then came the leaks. Images showing cartoon Meghan perched on a throne of wine bottles, Harry clinging to a scroll labeled Spare 2. But now we know exactly what this new episode is trying to say, and they're not hiding it. Because right there, in multiple leaked storyboard captions, 3 words appear again and again: victim card mocked. That's the through line, the theme, the joke that ties it all together. And it's not subtle. According to animation insiders, this time around, Meghan isn't just crying for privacy. She's campaigning, waving a literal victim card like a royal title. Cartoon Harry trails behind with a sign that reads, "Still spare," while villagers roll their eyes and paparazzi nap mid-photo. Even their animated dog reportedly wears a trauma support animal vest. It's brutal, it's petty, and it's very on-brand for South Park. And if the leaks are accurate, this episode isn't just going after the couple's contradictions. It's going after the entire strategy behind their public persona.
I'm sorry, I'm just really stressed. We're completely out of money.
Maybe it's time we dip into your fortune from Suits.
There is no fortune from Suits.
The endless interviews, the emotional podcasts, the vague allusions to trauma with just enough ambiguity to stir sympathy. It's saying what millions have been whispering since the Netflix doc dropped, since Spare hit shelves, since Spotify cut the cord, that the brand is built not on resilience, but on repetition, on a story that can't move forward unless the world keeps pitying them. And the writers, they saw that. They saw the pivot, the rebrand, the pastel rosé, and the self-empowerment speeches. And instead of backing off, they decided to go in again. Harder, smarter, meaner. Because South Park doesn't care how tired the joke gets, as long as the punchline still lands. And based on these leaks, it's landing. Meghan and Harry may have dodged one firestorm, but this time, the satire is locked in, and it's swinging straight for the crown they abandoned, and the one they tried to build in its place. And the victim card, it's front and center, but that was only the beginning. This time, the writers aren't just mocking personalities, they're mocking the playbook, and the message is crystal clear. Meghan and Harry's favorite tactic, the wounded dignity, the tragic backstory, the we're just misunderstood narrative, is officially being shredded on screen. Leaks from inside South Park's animation team have confirmed that the central joke of the upcoming episode revolves entirely around the couple's alleged overuse of the victim card. And we're not talking metaphor, we're talking literal, blinking, high-definition parody.
Hey, can you two keep it down?
Hey, you ever heard of a thing called privacy?
In one particularly detailed leaked frame, cartoon Meghan clutches a gigantic laminated card labeled Victim Unlimited Use, waving it like a backstage pass while sobbing into a wine goblet the size of her head. Her eyes are wide, lips trembling, posture exaggerated to the point of absurdity. Cartoon Harry, not far behind, looks dazed and lost, still clutching his now infamous spare parts measuring cup from the earlier teaser. The satire isn't subtle, it's aggressive, and that's exactly the point. Insiders close to the show say the creative team felt the original Worldwide Privacy Tour episode held back, at least by South Park standards. Sure, it mocked the contradictions, the book deals, the podcast drama, but it left plenty on the table. And in the year since, oh, the Sussexes have given them plenty more. A failed Spotify deal, a wine launch, a rumored cooking show, a botched influencer rebrand, a flurry of lifestyle trademarks that have yet to manifest. Add to that the glitched Instagram Live and the eerie silence from Hollywood allies, and what you've got is a PR crisis marinating in real time. But instead of fixing it, Meghan's team has allegedly doubled down on the old strategy, public vulnerability with polished filters, and that's what South Park is coming for. According to storyboard descriptions, the episode builds on a running gag where cartoon Meghan attempts to swipe her victim card, like a credit card, at increasingly absurd locations, a luxury spa, a courtroom, even a wine shop that stocks her rosé. Insufficient accountability flashes the on-screen message. It's petty, it's savage, and it's resonating because it cuts so close to the bone.
Dad, do you have any cash for a cab? Oh, look! Grandma's on the money! I never noticed that before.
The internet is already having a field day. The phrase victim card declined has made its way onto t-shirts, TikTok audio, and Twitter bios. Redditors are using it as a shorthand in completely unrelated comment threads. My boss made me work late. Victim card declined. The joke has left the episode and entered the culture, and the episode hasn't even aired. That's the danger for Meghan and Harry. It's not that the writers are mocking them, it's that the audience is ready to laugh, ready to pile on, ready to agree. Because there's a growing sense, even among former fans, that the couple's narrative has hit a wall, that the endless cycle of revelations and reinventions no longer inspires sympathy, it inspires eye rolls. And South Park has captured that fatigue perfectly, not with a press release, not with a podcast, but with a punchline. The victim card isn't just being mocked, it's being revoked. And if the rest of the episode keeps this energy, they haven't seen anything yet. According to multiple insiders, this wasn't just a one-off decision or a last-minute scramble to go viral again. The South Park team didn't stumble into this sequel, they designed it. And the mandate from day one was crystal clear. Don't just poke fun at Meghan and Harry, dismantle the narrative. Go straight for the core of the brand, the wounded royal storyline that's been running unchecked for nearly 5 years.
What are you suggesting? Well, I just think some people might say that your Instagram-loving wife actually doesn't want her privacy.
Rumor has it, Trey Parker and Matt Stone held an internal meeting just weeks after the original Worldwide Privacy Tour episode aired. And during that meeting, a simple question was reportedly asked: did we go far enough? Some in the room said yes, but others, including Parker himself, allegedly thought they'd barely scratched the surface. They left a lot on the table. One source close to the writing staff claimed they were satisfied with the hit, but unsatisfied with the depth. Meghan and Harry are a goldmine, not just for surface jokes, but for deeper, longer-running commentary. Trey reportedly said, "The victim thing writes itself," and that's when the idea really started taking shape. What followed was months of slow-burn development. Writers allegedly combed through media interviews, podcast transcripts, social posts, and public appearances to chart one recurring thread: the relentless, almost cinematic framing of Meghan and Harry as perpetual underdogs. From the Oprah sit-down to Harry's memoir, from the Spotify breakup to Meghan's rebrand as a pastel feminine entrepreneur, the same emotional beats played over and over. And the South Park team, they started scripting. Not a follow-up episode, a response. They storyboarded entire sequences where cartoon Meghan gives TED-style monologues to rooms full of bored villagers about resilience and being misunderstood. One leaked note allegedly reads, "Frame her as over-rehearsed. Performative sadness, like a well-meaning actor stuck in a loop." Another internal joke line? Turn pain into branding, then act surprised when people stop clapping. And Harry, the writers reportedly had different plans for him. While Meghan's cartoon version is presented as self-aware but stubborn, Harry's is written as confused, increasingly anxious, and utterly dependent on the victim story continuing.
Ooh, remind me to tell them the story about when I bought milk.
I think you just told it.
One storyboard allegedly features him Googling, "What happens if people stop believing me?" followed by a gag where even his cartoon therapist gives up mid-session. But the writers weren't just aiming for a few laughs. They wanted to shift perception, to take what had once been seen as brave honesty and hold it under a satirical microscope. The genius of the first episode was that it popped the balloon, said one Hollywood critic. But this one, it's puncturing the whole hot air system. It's saying, okay, you got your moment, but why are you still talking like no one ever listened? That's the trap they've built. And they know Meghan and Harry can't resist stepping into it, because when your whole brand is about speaking out, every silence feels like guilt, and every rebuttal sounds like proof of insecurity. And South Park's writers, they've built an entire episode around that contradiction. But the moment they knew they'd nailed it was the leak, and that's when the real storm began. It started in the shadows, just like last time. No official trailer, no Comedy Central press release, no warning. just a low-resolution, slightly grainy image dropped into a locked Discord channel tied to indie animation circles. It showed cartoon Meghan sitting cross-legged on what looked like a throne made entirely of shattered wine bottles, and each bottle labeled with the name of a past public flameout: Pearl, Spotify, The Bench, Archetypes. The whole throne sparkled in rose-pink glass and glittering pity, and in Meghan's cartoon lap, a golden scroll marked Duchess of Influencing. But what made the image instantly unforgettable wasn't just the visuals, it was the expression. Cartoon Meghan's face was frozen mid-sob, her eyes bulging, her mouth open in a dramatic gasp, one hand pressed against her heart like she was accepting a Lifetime Achievement Award in martyrdom. In her other hand, the now infamous victim card, held aloft like a royal scepter. It was petty, it was cruel, it was unmistakably South Park, and it was just the beginning.
Yeah, nobody gives a shit. Will you two just shut up and go away?
Within hours, more storyboard frames began surfacing. This time the quality was better. Cleaner lines, richer color palettes, even animation notes scribbled in the margins. It was clear, these weren't fakes, these were real production materials. One frame showed Harry crouched in a therapy office beneath a crooked still spare banner. He's cradling a baby bottle labeled Validation, while a cartoon therapist sits with crossed arms in a thought bubble that reads, Crisis of Narrative. Behind them, a shelf full of unopened wine bottles labeled Unfinished Projects looms in the background. Reddit exploded. Within minutes, the leaks were cross-posted to forums, TikTok, and Twitter. Some fans started stitching together what they believed was the plot. Others turned the stills into memes, pairing them with clips from Meghan's interviews or Harry's audiobook narration. TikTok creators layered the images with sad piano music, mock voiceovers, and the now viral tagline, "Victim card declined." But the most brutal commentary came not from critics, but from former fans. One user who had previously defended Meghan online posted a side-by-side comparison of the leaked cartoon and Meghan's real-life Vogue photo shoot, captioned, "The branding was already satire. South Park just noticed first." Another viral tweet read, "I used to think South Park went too far. Now I'm wondering if they went easy the first time. It was merciless, but it also felt inevitable." And inside Archwell, panic. Again, according to a source close to the crisis team, the leak triggered what they internally call a Category 2 containment alert, which basically means this wasn't just a bad meme, it was a reputational threat with viral momentum. The lawyers were reportedly looped in immediately. PR consultants were brought back on retainer. Meghan's comms lead allegedly had to cancel a weekend media strategy retreat because, in her words, the cartoon's about to air and we're still trying to stop Act 1. But here's what terrified them most. These weren't teaser frames. These were scenes, full storyboarded sequences. Act 1, Scene 14, with labeled timestamps and character guides, which meant if these were just the leaks, what else was already locked in for broadcast? And more importantly, what happens when that episode finally drops? The moment the new leaks hit social media, Archwell reportedly spiraled into what insiders are calling a full-throttle meltdown. Not the kind of quiet internal chaos that stays tucked behind conference calls and polite PR emails. No, this was open panic. Slack channels lit up. Crisis consultants were looped in from 3 different time zones. One staffer allegedly called it worse than the Spotify split, worse than the South Park premiere, worse than anything since the Oprah fallout. And the energy? Frantic doesn't begin to cover it.
How dare you, sir! My Instagram-loving wife has always wanted her privacy!
According to a source close to the situation, the second Meghan was shown the storyboard stills, the wine bottle throne, the gold scroll, the victim card, she reportedly said just one word, again. But it wasn't confusion, it was fury. Because in her mind, this wasn't just a repeat attack, it was a calculated hit. A direct assault on everything she's tried to rebuild since the first Parody episode aired. And this time, it was landing right as she was soft launching her lifestyle renaissance. What made it worse? The leaks weren't being treated as random images. They were being dissected like sacred texts. Social media wasn't laughing, it was analyzing. Reddit threads were zooming in on background objects, cross-referencing cartoon props with real-world scandals. One user posted a 10-slide breakdown of the validation bottle sketch, calling it a masterclass in psychological satire. TikTok edits were going viral by the minute. The audio, Meghan's own voice from past interviews. The visuals, cartoon Meghan mid-meltdown clutching a card that reads, "Trauma points redeemable at checkout." And behind closed doors at Archwell, the question wasn't just how to stop the leaks, it was how to survive the episode.
Hi, I'm Meghan Markle.
And I'm Harry. Harry,
and we're royally screwed.
Multiple sources claim Meghan's legal team immediately began drafting new cease and desist letters, this time targeting not just South Park's production arm, but platforms that had reposted the leaks. But those efforts reportedly hit a wall. You can't unring a bell, one lawyer allegedly warned, especially when the bell is a cartoon meme with 3 million views. One internal comm staffer allegedly floated the idea of Meghan issuing a preemptive statement, something vague but polished. Deeply disappointed by the normalization of public cruelty, or we continue to focus on empathy in the face of mockery. But that idea was immediately shot down by senior advisors. Why? Because even acknowledging the satire would risk confirming its power. Once you respond, one PR expert said, you're playing by their rules, and they've already written the script. Others inside Archwell reportedly considered pivoting to distraction, launching a charity initiative, a wellness campaign, even fast-tracking the next podcast rollout, but that too was dismissed. Because at this stage, anything Meghan posts risks becoming material for Act 2. And that's when someone reportedly said what everyone had been thinking. They're not just parodying us, they're baiting us. Because that's what South Park does best. It doesn't just roast, it waits for you to flinch. And Meghan, whether she claps back or stays silent, she's walking straight into the punchline. And the writers? They allegedly haven't even played their final card yet. If Archwell was burning behind closed doors, the internet was doing cartwheels in plain sight. The leaked images hadn't just gone viral, they detonated. And no matter how many cease and desist letters Meghan's lawyers were allegedly drafting, the meme machine wasn't slowing down. In fact, it was speeding up. Because the public didn't just laugh at the leaks, they ran with them, reposting, remixing, reframing. Within 24 hours, victim card declined wasn't just a gag, it was a full-blown digital movement. TikTok exploded first. Creators stitched together Meghan's podcast clips with the leaked cartoon stills, layering them with dramatic violin and sarcastic voiceovers. Some creators used AI to animate the frames, turning the cartoon Meghan into a talking avatar that apologized for being too brave, too beautiful, too persecuted. Others faked South Park trailers with titles like Still Spare the sequel no one asked for. One clip racked up over 3 million views in less than 12 hours. Another stitched Meghan's voice from a mental health summit with the leaked image of her cartoon self clinging to the victim card while villagers rolled their eyes. The caption, "When your trauma becomes a punchline." Reddit wasn't any kinder. Entire threads were dedicated to analyzing the satire.
Auntie Meghan, hello! Oh, I've missed you!
One post that gained over 40,000 upvotes laid out a 5-part theory. Meghan's branding strategy depends on soft power, controlled narratives, and emotional relatability, and South Park had just dismantled all 3 in less than 4 storyboard frames. The post ended with a brutal line. The Duchess tried to trademark empathy. South Park trademarked irony first. And Twitter? It became a battleground. Not just between supporters and critics, but between generations. Older fans who once sympathized with Meghan now began quote-tweeting the leaks with quiet resignation. One viral tweet simply read, "I wanted to believe her, but this is getting embarrassing." Even Meghan-friendly influencers started to go radio silent. The risk of reposting something that could be parodied the next week was just too high. When even your allies fear becoming part of the joke, the brand is in real trouble. Inside Archwell, the mood was grim. One staffer allegedly said, the leaks would have been survivable if the internet hadn't turned them into a movement. But they had, and that movement was outpacing everything. Faster than Meghan's team could write a press release, faster than Harry could craft a statement, faster than any brand consultant could develop a recovery plan. Worse still, every containment attempt only made it worse. The moment Meghan's legal team sent takedown notices to social media platforms, screenshots of the notices began circulating as memes themselves. One user even printed out a mock cease and desist and taped it to their wine bottle, filming a parody of themselves sipping it while whispering, "Empathy, now available in court." That's the nightmare scenario for any public figure. When your branding materials become raw ingredients for public satire. When your crisis strategy becomes a subplot in the ongoing mockery. And for Meghan and Harry, it was becoming impossible to tell where the brand ended and the parody began. Because once the audience starts writing the jokes for you, your control is already gone.
So all you'd have to do is Instagram yourselves using my ketchup. It'd be a huge help. I see. Well, that's something we'll definitely think about.
And rumor has it, South Park knew this was coming all along. While Meghan's team scrambled to manage headlines, leaks, and influencer fallouts, insiders say Prince Harry was unraveling in a much quieter, far more unsettling way. Not with fiery emails or legal memos, but with silence, deep, suffocating silence. The kind that doesn't come from strategy, but from emotional collapse. Sources close to the Sussex household describe a man gutted, not just wounded by the mockery, but stunned by how quickly things spiraled, and how utterly powerless he was to stop it. According to one longtime acquaintance from Harry's former UK circle, the prince made several late-night phone calls in the days after the storyboard leaks hit. But these weren't to lawyers. They weren't even to Archwell staff. They were personal, desperate. One of the first calls, reportedly, went to a former royal equerry, a behind-the-scenes aide who once helped Harry navigate family rifts and media landmines back in his palace days. Someone discreet, someone loyal. But this time, the phone went unanswered. Not once, not twice, multiple calls, no reply. Another call, insiders claim, went to an old contact at Netflix, an executive who had championed the couple's original docuseries and allegedly described Harry as an authentic modern voice. But that connection, too, had gone cold. One Hollywood insider familiar with the situation said it bluntly: "Nobody wants to be looped into this. Not right now. The parody risk is too high. Even a phone call could get cartooned next week." And that kind of silence? It reportedly hit Harry harder than anything South Park could animate. Because behind the bluster and branding, Harry has always operated on relationships, trust, loyalty. And for years he believed that even if the public turned, someone in his old orbit, someone behind palace gates or behind the camera, would step in. But now, not even a text. He thought someone would help. One Montecito source said, "Not everyone, but someone." And when nobody did, that's when it sank in. They're not just being mocked, they're being abandoned.
And you know what else? To hell with Canada! We are leaving! We'll go find some quiet place where we can be normal people! Come on, wife!
Insiders describe Harry in the days that followed as detached. He reportedly went on long solo walks around their Montecito property, headphones in, ignoring calls, skipping team Zooms. One staffer claimed he was overheard muttering, "How did it get this far?" as he scrolled through his phone. And the worst part? The leaked cartoon scenes weren't even the full episode. They were only Act 1. One frame in particular reportedly broke him. A therapy scene where cartoon Harry cradles a giant baby bottle labeled validation, while his cartoon therapist writes, "Still spare, still confused, still talking." The gag was exaggerated, sure, but insiders say it struck a nerve, because it wasn't just satire, it was recognition that this is how people see him now. A man stuck in a loop, a prince without a plot. There were whispers that Harry even floated the idea of a personal blog post, something raw, reflective, maybe anonymous, something that stepped away from the brand and tried to be human again. But according to sources, the idea was crushed. One advisor allegedly warned, "It'll look weak, and worse, it'll confirm the leaks are real." So Harry stayed quiet, wandering, watching the memes pile up, listening to the punchlines multiply. And while Meghan plotted legal countermoves and PR strategies, Harry stood in the eye of the storm, realizing that the silence around him wasn't just bad luck, it was a warning. And according to those closest to the couple, it's only going to get louder. Once the leaks took off and the victim card meme went mainstream, it wasn't just South Park dragging Meghan and Harry anymore, it was everyone. The cultural green light had been given. The floodgates were open. And the comedy world didn't just step through them, it charged in. TikTok, as usual, moved first. Creators began stitching Meghan's podcast monologues and Harry's audiobook lines with the leaked cartoon stills, adding in comedic captions like, "Please swipe your victim card again," or "This coupon has expired." A viral sound clip emerged almost overnight. Meghan's real voice saying, "I was silenced," followed by a cartoon boing effect, and the words "card declined" flashing across the screen. It wasn't just trending, it was relentless.
Why are we so mad today?
Cause we want our privacy!
One creator even posted a fake ad for a new fragrance. Victim number 5 smells like betrayal and barely aged rosé. It got over 5 million views in less than a day. But TikTok was just the warm-up. By the end of the week, every major late-night host had taken a swipe. Jimmy Kimmel joked that Meghan's rosé had notes of performative sadness with a strong aftertaste of self-importance. The audience roared. Stephen Colbert, usually one of the softer voices on royal drama, delivered a brutal one-liner. The Duke and Duchess of Montecito are reportedly distressed, possibly from the tannins. Even Jimmy Fallon got in on it, opening his monologue with, "South Park's back." And apparently, so is Meghan's victim complex. Stand-up comedians weren't far behind. A rising comic at the Laugh Factory allegedly opened her weekend set with, "You know your brand's in trouble when a cartoon character's wine bottle has better reviews than your actual wine." The clip went viral on YouTube with captions like, "Rip Meghan's PR team," and "Savage but accurate." Then came the parody accounts. Instagram pages like Duchess of Chardonnay and Still Spare Anonymous popped up seemingly overnight. The former posted fake product reviews like, "Pairs well with performative feminism and a side of deflection." The latter wrote mock diary entries from cartoon Harry, including one that read, "Day 7 without validation. The rosé has turned on me." Both accounts gained tens of thousands of followers in a matter of days. Even other animated shows took notice. One popular adult cartoon reportedly slipped in a background gag featuring 2 unnamed characters, one ginger, one brunette, selling empathy juice from a food truck labeled "Still Grifting." It aired for less than 5 seconds, but fans caught it immediately. Screenshots flooded Reddit within the hour. And here's what made it worse for Meghan's team. None of this was coordinated. None of it was centralized. There was no campaign. Just a cultural tipping point that finally broke.
What happened to your ring?
I gave it to the working people.
We're the working people.
The Sussexes weren't being roasted because they said something new. They were being roasted because they hadn't stopped saying the same things. Because their narrative, once seen as brave and raw, now felt rehearsed and exhausting. They've become parody-proof, one media strategist said bluntly. You can't satirize them harder than they've already satirized themselves. That's the nightmare. Not being hated, but being laughable. Not being called out, but being tuned out. And for a couple who built an empire on being heard, that's the cruelest punchline of all. Especially when Trey Parker still hasn't played his final card, and fans say there's more coming. Just when it seemed like the meme storm might finally reach its peak, Trey Parker, the man behind the madness, decided to throw gasoline on the fire. Quietly, casually, and with that signature South Park smirk that tells you he knows exactly what he's doing. It happened during a panel at the Colorado Creators Festival, a small closed-door event with zero press coverage and no formal live stream. But that didn't stop one attendee from leaking the quote that instantly lit up Reddit, Twitter, and the industry Slack groups Meghan's team probably wishes didn't exist. When asked how the South Park writers feel about the backlash surrounding the storyboard leaks, Trey reportedly shrugged and said, "If the leaks scare them, wait till you see what didn't leak." 5 seconds, one sentence. That's all it took to restart the entire cultural engine. It wasn't a threat, it was a promise. And everyone from hardcore South Park fans to Meghan's exhausted PR advisors knew what it meant. What's already out there, the wine throne, the victim card, the therapy scene, that was just Act 1. The stuff that didn't leak, that's what they're actually proud of.
Why did you bring that with you again, Harry?
You know, in case someone wants a massage, I'll do a few outcalls.
According to animation insiders, the real hammer drops in Act 2. Allegedly, the episode features a full-blown fantasy sequence where cartoon Meghan sees herself as a cross between Joan of Arc and Mother Teresa, floating above the crowd with a sash that reads "Empathy Embodied," while cartoon Harry trails behind her with a clipboard and a bottle labeled "Organic Validation," now with less substance. The villagers beneath them, rolling their eyes, checking their phones, and pretending to yawn. But the writers didn't stop there. Another scene, according to leaked script fragments circulating in entertainment circles, allegedly shows cartoon Meghan hosting a faux TED Talk titled "Turning Pain into Profit," a masterclass. Every time she says the word grace, the lights dim and an invisible cash register dings. Harry, sitting in the front row, keeps raising his hand to ask if this is still about healing, only to be shushed by a stage assistant in a Spare Club hoodie. And this time, the writers weren't relying on ambiguity. They were naming names. Sort of. Not officially, of course, because South Park plays the parody game like a lawyer plays chess. But insiders say the coded references this time are even thinner than last year's silhouettes and subtle wine glass shapes.
Jesus, what did they do to you?
This time, they want the audience to know exactly who they're watching and exactly why the joke lands so hard. Meghan's team, according to sources, is panicking all over again. The leaks were bad enough. The memes were brutal. But Trey's quote, that was a gut punch, because it confirmed what they feared most. The episode isn't just ready, it's weaponized, locked, edited, and scheduled to air with material so cutting. Even sympathetic outlets won't be able to defend it without drawing attention to the punchlines. And the kicker? That teaser line, "Wait till you see what didn't leak," has already gone viral. It's being printed on mugs, posted as TikTok captions, and used as memes under unrelated Sussex posts. It's not just about South Park anymore. It's about the fact that everyone knows something worse is coming, and that Meghan and Harry can't stop it. Not legally, not emotionally, not with all the brand consultants in the world. Because at this point, the internet's not just bracing for the episode, they're counting down to it. At this point, there's no denying it. This isn't just another episode of South Park. This is a cultural moment, a pivot point, the kind of savage satire that doesn't just mock its targets, it redefines them. And for Meghan and Harry, the damage may already be done. Not because of one cartoon, not even because of one leak, but because of the shift it represents. The moment the world stopped seeing them as victims and started seeing them as characters. That's the most brutal part. They're no longer the couple that escaped royal repression. They're not the brave truth tellers, the freedom-fighting exiles, or the post-palace power players. They're punchlines, archetypes, recurring jokes in a comedy franchise that's outlasted political dynasties and pop culture icons. And the worst part, they're recurring now. That means this isn't a one-off satire. It's a status. Because in the world of satire, you only get mocked twice when the audience demands it, when the joke is too good to let go, and when the people being mocked just keep handing you material. South Park knew what it was doing. Trey Parker's "wait till you see what didn't leak" line wasn't just bravado, it was a signal to the audience, a reminder that the show hasn't just observed the Sussex saga, it's been documenting it, carefully, meticulously, like a roast with receipts.
This might be the smallest palace I've ever been in.
And now, with the episode locked, leaked, and whispered about across every corner of the internet, Meghan and Harry are staring down something far more dangerous than a media backlash. They're staring down irrelevance, because once your brand becomes the people who keep getting roasted, your message doesn't matter. The cause doesn't matter. The podcast, the wine, the book, the blog, it all gets flattened into background noise. The world doesn't listen anymore, it reacts. And once you're only relevant as a reaction, you're no longer leading the story. You are the story, and not the version you get to write. Even sympathetic media outlets are backing off. Brand deals are pausing. PR agencies are hesitating to take the call. Because no one wants to get South Parked by association. No one wants their product held up next to a victim card declined meme. That's not just bad optics, that's death by parody. And now, the clock's ticking. Not just for the episode to air, but for the next round of fallout. Will Meghan and Harry respond? Will they go silent again? Will Harry retreat even further, while Meghan tries to spin another soft launch moment into a redemption arc? Or will they do the one thing their team dreads more than a South Park punchline, and double down again? Because if they do, Trey Parker and Matt Stone are already waiting. And next time, it might not be a throne of wine bottles, it might be something worse, something final. Because this isn't about cartoons anymore, it's about what happens when a public figure becomes parody-proof. So now we ask you, can Meghan and Harry ever come back from this? Or has the victim card finally expired for good? Drop your thoughts below, like, subscribe, and stay tuned. The next video is waiting, and you won't believe what's coming next.